I want you to duplicate my sales system that gets leads to pay you $5,000 and beyond coming through your system. And I want to show you that personally, showing you my own system that I've built with the help of my 8 and 9 figure mentors, and really just give you a way that you can drive hot leads down a path and have them really cruise through it in order to get you sales. And in my eyes here, this is just going to help to really increase those sales opportunities. So when you combine the two, we will start to let you just take off in your business, okay? What's going on? I'm Justice Severin, and I really just want you to understand that this channel is made for coaches and creators who are trying to grow a wildly profitable personal brand. And today we are bringing you no different in the sense of giving you this great deep dive today here that's going to allow you just to really enhance your sales game and take things to the next level. All right, so I got some great stuff I want to tap into, so I want to make sure that we're efficient and effective today. Obviously, if you're new to our world here, new to my world here, go ahead and type new down below, drop new in the comments. If you're returning, drop a hashtag back again. We love to be creative over here on this channel. Drop a hashtag, it feels good to be back. Hashtag happy Wednesday, happy whatever day you're watching this. It's Wednesday, I'm recording this, so that's why I'm feeling the Wednesday vibes. And if you're returning, obviously, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. Always helps to get this in front of more people. And if it's your first time, I'll definitely give you a pass for now. Let's wait and hold off until you get some value here. But without further ado, I think we should go ahead and jump in. Definitely feel free to wait until you get some value here at that like button. But I'm telling you, this is going to be when you definitely want to tap back into and really get some good stuff towards. So, and let me know, obviously, as well, your niche down below in the comments. And I'll have to give you a couple of paths you'll see that's going to really tie towards the sales path that I'm going to show you with in mind personally, just to help give you some ideas for your own business here too. So hopefully that's cool with you, because I really want to go ahead and jump into a lot of the good stuff here. Really, my plan as far as this side goes here is I want to really give you access towards my exact sales path that I drive buyers through, and really just going to share with you bonus scripts at the end here just to kind of help you implement it on your own. So hopefully that sounds cool with you. I think we should go ahead and dive in. All right, number one here, out the gates, as I said, I want you to build a sales system that warms leads up to pay you 4 and 5 figure deals, okay? This truly is what this can accomplish for you if you start to tap into it the right way, right? And really, two large pieces I see that can help you make this possible is by adding automation and delegation into the process, aka automation and duplication, right? Why? Because I think that there's a large part of business that majority of especially beginner business owners really fail at, and that large part is consistency, and how really avoiding that consistency, avoiding a lack of consistency in the business, let's just say here, is critical. That is key in the business, right? And I think that that's why so often people are trying to put everything on their back and they dream about the perfect implementation strategy, yet 2 weeks goes by now, a month goes by, 3 months go by, and anywhere in between, and they have not been able to keep their foot on the gas the whole time. It's more like this car that just keeps jerking on and off, and if you've ever been sitting in one of those cars as a passenger, you're like, relax, Jimmy, drive the car straight, all right? So this is where I don't want you to be Jimmy over here. I want you to really go ahead and just keep your stuff driving smooth, right? We need to stay consistent over the long run. That's such a key, and that's why having some automation, delegation as a part of your sales system will be huge for you. And I don't want you to think that this is all about automating and delegating everything and duplicating everything. It's about doing it the right way, and especially at the right stages, right? So there will be some pieces where I'm going to share with you, especially that are more so what I would say you should do if you're earlier on / when I say early on, if you're not making 5 figures per month in your business, you probably should be taking some things a little bit differently. So I'm going to share really kind of the path I see for that, and then really how some of those foundational pieces can help you to really grow beyond that, honestly, as well. So that's a big one within the automation and duplication, aka delegation there. Beyond that, too, another large part we want to make sure that we're having these two pieces, which is the automation delegation, are because of speed to lead. So often, we get leads coming to our world, and we're just not there to respond to them, and especially not in a timely manner. One of my mentors used to always say speed to lead in his eyes, it was 5 to 10 minutes after somebody opts in. If you can't be there to respond to that, you're basically leaving money on the table, and we don't want that to happen for you. So how can you really orchestrate a system that allows that to happen less, right? Because if we can do that, now we're just naturally giving ourselves more opportunities here. not just a big piece to keep in mind. And I'll give you this obvious reason because you may be thinking, Justice, I can be around. I'm good to go. Right. But the reality is, what if you're the kind of person who's not trying to operate their business on the weekends? What if you're the kind of person who sleeps? What if you're the kind of person who wants to be with their family? You need this balance here. Like I said, I love if you have the ambition where maybe you're not trying, you believe you can be everywhere at once. Kudos to you. But I just know that 100% of the time that can't be the reality. So let's build off of what we know is the truth instead of the dreams. Like I said, the same dreams that people are trying to stay consistent off of this impossible strategy they're trying to implement over the long run. Big one there too, right? And then what else can I do for you, and kind of what else do you do, if you will? Let's put it this way. Now that you got automation rolling, as we're going to get into how you can do this here, you're going to be asking yourself, what else can I be doing with my time, right? I built up some of this stuff. Now what do I do? Well, Maya is here. Now you can really start to focus on marketing and improving your marketing. And in reality, beyond those two, it really comes back towards, once that's moving really smoothly for you, it's about now how can you spend as much time as possible talking to hot leads, right? And so I would say when it comes down to even just making those three come together, I think one easy thing you can keep in mind is really this whole idea of the rule of 100, right? If you're not familiar with that, it's basically just to give you some perspective of what you could be doing with your time instead of kind of just living in this dream world. You really could go ahead and be spending 100 minutes a day making content, right? You could easily spending 100 minutes a day improving your advertising, right? You can easily be doing 100 outreaches per day. You could easily be spending $100 per day and beyond, right? And these are the things that just I want you to start thinking of, hey, all right, now if I'm starting to get this automation moving, what do I do? Like, you're going to probably find it tough to even fill in those 100 minutes like I mentioned for each of these. So start with that, and then if you still have extra time, talk to me. We'll help fill you out. But that's a big one out the gates. Now, as we move that, we want to really understand, just this idea that with a strong sales system, it's not all about more leads. This is by far one of the most common myths that I believe are getting coaches and creators stuck in the business, right? Because really one large part that you need first and foremost is you have to have a sales system that's optimized. Right? Because if you don't have this and you're getting a ton of leads, you are literally going to be either going to be wasting time or money, right? Obviously, it's money if you're spending money on paid ads, and it's going to be time if you're doing things 100% organically. No matter how you go, it's still a waste of energy, resources, if you will, and that's just unacceptable as you're looking to scale. It's going to be to the demise of the business. Even if you're seeing success right now, you could be doing better if you optimize first. It's taking that one step back to take 5 steps forward. That's really how I want you to view this here as well, too. So really keep that in mind as we're tapping into really implementing and creating your own sales system. Now, really within this, the kind of key communication elements, pieces that really I'm using here and leaning into, I'd say are really 3 big ones, right? Number 1 is social media, right? My communication on social media. You could argue this is in the DMs. You could technically argue this is with content. There's some other ways we can kind of, if you start getting to like ManyChat and stuff like that, I'm not really a big fan of that personally, but regardless, this isn't about that. But really, a bunch of these automation tools on social media. I just was calling out ManyChat because that's one that a lot of people know. Nothing wrong with it. I just think that in my eyes here, I come from the organic background. My first $300,000 online was made without a dime on paid ads and really just leaning into one strong social media platform, which for me at the time was Facebook. Now I'm really big on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn is my other piece there. So I just share this out of my pure experience. This isn't about just me throwing fluff at you. So with that being said, social media is a strong communication platform. Email is another big communication platform for me as well. Really strong on the nurture side and a place to make offers as well and just kind of avoid the algorithm. I think that's why I love email. And the next one is which is SMS texting. I love those because, and you could argue DMs as well, how all of those, they ignore the algorithm. It gives you a chance to slip in through the cracks basically and present yourself in front of your hottest prospects without having to rely on the right content, the algorithm popping its way in front. So that's just a big piece when it comes to understanding where are we going to be leveraging this sales system so you know where to start prioritizing your energy when it comes to certain platforms in your own business. The big mistake now I see really with coaches though when it comes to automation, right? I would say many think that really automation can replace the human connection. This, in my eyes, it really should be enhancing the human connection, if anything, when it comes down to this here, right? And really, you can even tell too, the way that I mentioned with certain things like speed to lead and like helping to get the ball rolling. But like we need to make sure that we have it set up, because you can have the speed to lead set up with automation, but now you send an automatic message that comes out, but now they're looking to continue the conversation and you're not around. Right? So it's like it felt real, but until it didn't, and then like but you didn't respond for like 7 hours later, 3 days later, and it's like, well, okay, that clearly was not justice. So who am I talking to here? So I think that's one big piece we want to keep in mind, because we need to make sure we can keep this automation, but we need to make sure we're keeping leads engaged throughout the process. All right. And really, that's kind of why we need to make sure that we're keeping the human element as alive and thriving as much as possible throughout the process, basically there too, right? No one wants to talk to robots, unless they're talking to like a major corporation. And honestly, like I'm sure you can understand this too. Chances are, not even then are they really trying to talk to robots, these, automatic kind of, answering machines, if you will here. Even if it's successfully done, even if they get the help they're looking for, people still typically don't like that. Just last year, I got a letter from the IRS saying they were missing some form from me, right? And, based on the letter at first glance, I couldn't really remember what they were requesting. So I tried calling, and I got this automated voice system, right? And, I tried talking to the operator, like it didn't work at all. Just kind of kept looping me in circles because they were just desperate. I even hit the 0 button. I'm like, just get me to talk to somebody. Nothing was happening. So then from there, eventually I figured out what they were looking for, reading through the letter again itself. But at the end of it all, I was just upset that I couldn't talk to somebody to get clarification. It's like, so that's why I mean, like, think about it with people who are, think about any big corporation, company, government, obviously too, on that side, you could say in this example, even though they can get more of a pass, like it still doesn't leave a good taste in your mouth. So think about that for you. If you're especially selling a high ticket, you're a more, hitting ground, wheels in the pavement, if you will, type of service, you don't want to put yourself in that kind of situation. That's why I really don't believe that like AI phone calls really work well in the coaching and creator space, honestly. It's just because it's like, what are you trying to accomplish? What's your end goal when it comes to this kind of service? So I think that's a big piece. And like one thing that I just mentioned all of the time to people is that people buy from people. People buy from people. So leverage this as much as possible and you'll see it pay off in spades for you, right? And really from there, understanding the straight line, right? I think this is another major piece that when it comes down to any successful sales system, anytime I'm teaching a client around sales and how really any kind of sales operation needs to function, you have to understand the straight line that you can take a potential buyer down in order to increase the chances that they become a buyer, right? If someone's seeking a solution and they're already resonating with you, you need to understand in advance the path you're going to take them down. Right? This is such a critical piece because so often I see it where people are just kind of trying to wing it. They get a hot lead and they're like, all right, what am I supposed to do here? I'm just going to trust my gut and kind of like, sure, when you're just starting out, that's okay. But like, I see it too often where people have been in the space for a while and they still are kind of just like winging it, taking it case by case. And there's just not as much leverage in that. And then you can't really build a sales system that can start to kind of have a life of its own. Because if you can start to determine what that straight line, what that path is, it allows you to then kind of automatically send people down that path, potentially a lot more hands off, and then let you step in when the time is right. This is that sweet balance I truly like to have really for myself here that can just help you to really give you that edge inside of the business there too. Right? So that's another big one here. And then really beyond that is the whole idea of where can we kind of utilize this automated and delegated and duplicated sales system, right? Sales process. And really like the how. I want to really just start tapping into the how for you today and within the how, it really is, I'll kind of break down these 3 sections and we're going to go really deep into how we can implement this inside of your business. But really number 1 is this idea of a pre-qualification questionnaire. That can be a really big piece to kind of help. And we want to have it where, because even when you're talking to leads one-on-one, like you should be understanding what's their current situation, what's their desired situation, what obstacles are they currently running into, right? And if you can early on, you want to understand some kind of investment question. Do they have potential funds to invest? What are they looking to do if it works out, right? And really that can be a scary one to ask for people as well too. I mean, even a quick story, like for myself, this has happened to me many a times, honestly. But I can remember one specific example of when a person really, they told me that they weren't able to invest in themselves in advance, right? This was before, I think we were going to get on a call before, and they said, like, even, I don't even think we meant talking about a call yet, but we just mentioned how we're just chatting and like, yeah, I'm not looking to invest X, Y, Z. They were more just someone who was really looking, they saw what I was doing. They were looking to kind of collaborate with me, honestly, as well, too, in order to strengthen their own offer, which, hey, that's fine. You clearly see some value out of me, even though it's not the kind of value you want to pay. You want to partner together to make money. Hey, there's always potential for that, right? So with that being said, though, we had a call, and by the end of it, they ended up paying me $7,000 just a couple days later, right? And to me, it's because I was really able to hammer home really what their core problem was, and really just like a strong solution that I knew I could bring to the table for them that they hadn't really heard before, hadn't seen before, right? And so this can be so powerful. So now, just because someone, I kind of have this like a default setting where if someone says they can't invest, I take it with a grain of salt. I don't let it end there. A lot of times what I do, and what you can simply do, is reach out, ask them why they said that. And more than half the time, I'd say I get a response that really just implies like they would actually be willing to invest. It's more so if they feel it's the right fit for them at the time, right? No one just wants to kind of raise their hand and say, I'm a sucker. Just, yeah, I'll invest blindly, right? So like, realize that we're dealing with humans here. And this is why, yet again, the balance of the automation is really important. And I think too many people go heavy on the automation side far too soon inside of their business. Far too soon, and probably maybe even too deep inside of their sales process and their sales system. And so that's why, like, this type of investment question, I'd say it's optional, but I will say, you've got to, if you get it out there, you've now kind of gotten an uncomfortable part of the conversation out of the way. So now you can really just get into the weeds and focus on these bigger pieces, knowing that they've already kind of told you where they're at. They're kind of showing you their hands a little bit. Let's call it, if we're playing blackjack, maybe like they've shown you one of their cards in a sense here, and it can really just help you to navigate the direction that you want to take things from there, right? And then really, so that we're talking, like I said, within this automated and delegated sales process here, we've got it with the pre-qualification questionnaire, and then beyond that, now we have it where it's the initial follow-up and outreach, and then from there is the offering of a solution and sharing the offer. Right, so we're gonna get into kind of like what, like I said, less is more. Right, I give you 3 steps and stages there because we can go deep on those 3. But at a 30,000-foot view, high level, that's where we want to put the energy into when it comes to our sales process. Those alone will give you leverage. I told you for myself, this is the same sales process I've used to get my business to $1 million and beyond. Like, less is more. Don't overcomplicate things here. Simplicity over hustle. Right. And then really to even add into like, the follow-up outreach part of that and kind of just the offer solution, like when it comes down to where you really are stepping in, right? When you're kind of, like I said, the automation is find that line where you step in. Basically, you want to step in as they're getting warm. Because the more we can just have it, I always say the goal is we want to have it where you're focusing on warm leads within your business and really not spend too much time with the cold ones. That's the ideal space because the warm leads are the ones that you want to grow that relationship with. They're beyond the surface level, right? And that's where you're beyond the chit chat. Like, I've used this analogy of basically where it's like, you could have it. There's certain friends, if you will, that you even have in your life where it's like, some of them, you'll just kind of have surface level conversations. They're a little bit more of acquaintances, right? But then you have those real friends where you'll actually have the heart to hearts with. Right? I want you to almost view it as you don't really need to be diving deep into those surface level type of friends. You want to be diving deep with the heart to heart type folks. Right? And so that's how I want you to really see this as well, with where you can start to draw the line. Right? Does that make sense? Comment value down below if this is hitting home. Obviously, hit that like button down below as well too. And definitely if this is hitting home for you as well and you're getting some value out of this. Like I said, we're about to really now dive into the sales side, but we're about to get into the thick of it is really what I'm trying to let you know right here. So let's jump into the next piece. Utilizing a core platform for lead generation, right? We're now getting into the how of this, right? I want you now to understand how can you start to really implement this from start to finish. There's going to be a few steps here, but we can go deep into each of them, all right? So step number 1, utilize a core platform for lead generation. Multiple platforms, it is okay, but you really need that bread and butter. Like I mentioned for myself, Facebook was the only platform I was using until I made my first $300,000. And even for myself, like that's like as far as social media platforms, I still didn't even send my first email online until really email, let's say within this business, until I made my first $100,000 online. So like, you don't need to go crazy with once again, a super long email automation system and all that when you're starting off. Can it help you? Absolutely. But I'm just telling you, there are ways to do it without these things, right? And so now it's like looking back, if I was going to be adding these things, I would add it in a simplistic way that helps you to enhance the speed to lead and the consistency to allow you to really capture the attention of your hottest leads when they're hot, right? But really, we need it within this initial lead generation platform. People need a way to find you. So this is kind of where so many times people are worried about all these other things. As you can tell, I love tech. I love using all-in-one systems, but before any of that really makes sense, you need a way to get people to your front door. AKA, you need traffic, you need lead generation, you need an audience growth system, right? From there, it's about giving them a chance to really take that first step into your world, right? And that's why that leads us into generating opportunities for hand raisers, right? AKA curated opportunities, right? This really leads them most likely to opting in. That's really what our goal is here with these curated opportunities. We want people to really give them a chance to raise their hand. So that's why I'm saying calling them hand raised. Like, hey, I'm interested. Hey, I want to learn more. I want to see more of what you're talking about here. Show me the goods. Let me see what you got, right? This is how I want you to really see that. So this is really why the main goal of the lead generation is to create and is to really lead folks to these curated opportunities. Create hand raisers. We don't want to just generate leads to generate leads. If we're going to actually bring leverage into the sales process, we need people to start raising their hands, right? And so this is where we want to have this kind of two initial prongs, if you will, to really spark everything else that comes behind it, right? This is the whole idea of getting these opt-ins to really come in one form or another. And this needs to be enticing, really based off of, I'd say, two big things. One, it needs to be enticing based off of the current pains your ideal prospect is going through. And at the same time, the current results that your ideal prospect really is on the path towards. Anything that you're trying to do to get someone to raise their hands, you want to really make sure it's hitting one of those two buckets. Because if you do, it's going to be far easier to get someone to want to now actually raise their hand. Because I'll tell you what, people, it might sound like it's easy. It's like, oh, make a lead magnet, make this thing over here, so everyone will come to you. Once you start getting into this, you realize that's not the case, right? And I think this is why you really need to spend a good amount of time testing in order to create the most attractive hand raisers possible. Right? For myself, when I think back to 2021 real quick, I had basically been working on different angles that my ideal buyers wanted that could get them to raise their hand. Right. And really for me, I had decent ones, but really there was one that ended up taking off, and it was what I called my lead leverager. Right. And for that, this just came from understanding that lead generation was a major issue for majority of my audience. So I'm like, all right, I clearly need an angle around that, but the struggle was always finding an angle for them to latch onto. Right. And really, this created that kind of first successful vehicle that sparked a large volume of leads and opt-ins to come into my world. And more importantly, it sparked a lot of warm conversations. So that's where it's just like you're really looking to continue testing and refining and drive closer towards what those angles are that really gets people to leap and take action. We don't need them to leap and take action on a monetary offer, but what if they'll even leap and take action on a non-monetary offer, or at the same time on a low-ticket offer? Right. And then these things can help warm them up and get them towards the higher ticket sale that we're truly trying to go ahead and get folks into that much more. Right. And honestly, too, if you want that as well, comment lead leverager down below. I'll go ahead and send it to you in case, you're looking for some help with leads there too. I actually have a whole course built around that. I can send you, comment either or. If you want the course or you want the lead leverager asset, I'll send one or both to get to you. Maybe I'll send both if I'm feeling good if you drop a comment. but that's a big piece there, right? So we need to make sure we have those first two dialed in, which is the utilizing the core platform, and then really generate opportunities for hand raisers when we're bringing leads into that platform as well too. Give folks a place to really self-identify them as warm leads for us, right? And then from here, now we're at the largest part, and I don't want to say this. That's why I always kind of say there's like three main areas of the business. It's really you've got lead generation, you've got your sales process, and you've got your offer. Those are really big three big places. So that's why really. Lead generation is a huge one we just spoke on. And obviously, you need your offer because it really acts as like a foundation as far as who your avatar is and who you're loosely trying to sell to. The idea of having, we were just talking about this on Inner Circle call yesterday, actually. It's like with my clients. And it's like really like the idea of this ideal perfect avatar, I love how they're just starting to understand that it's not exactly what's cracked up to be. The reality is that's just you thinking you absolutely know who your buyers are. The reality is when you get out there, you might be aiming for this bullseye, but you'll still get some good points if you hit 60-70% outside of the bullseye there, if you will. So really just continue just to fire but get out there. And that's why I teach this method called survey selling, because it can get you to really start talking to people, and then you'll have a much better idea instead of just trusting your gut blindly as far as who are people that actually would be interested in what you have to sell. Right? So that's where the offer and lead generation, those first two pieces can be big in kind of getting things off the ground. But now we want to talk about the sales process. Now, this is the big piece of this here. I want you to really start looking at how can you drive folks through your sales path, right? Driving leads through your sales path. All right. So with this here, and I'll even tell you right now, like as a little prerequisite, like there's a reason why most coaches are stuck in the friend zone with their leads. All right. And it really, in my eyes, like one big part of it is because of this kind of aimless chit chat that leaves prospects engaged, but they just basically don't buy because, and really they don't know how to shift their positioning. And that's why they don't just get in the friend zone, they stay in the friend zone there. And really that's why this mentality, which you could argue at its core, I really even got from Jordan Belfort, preaches about, if you haven't heard of him, look him up. He preaches about the straight line method, right? And it's more so because he goes about sales a different way as far as like the tactical side of it. But at its core, the message of that is strong. Right? You need to be bringing folks down this straight line. Imagine you're trying to go down the straight path, and then someone's trying to bring you outside of it. Right? When you're doing all this chit chat, you're going way outside. And it's okay to sometimes do that, but you need to make sure that you're not going too far out. Right? Instead of going way out here, you can just keep it in nice and tight. Right? You may go off again, but keep it in nice and tight. Nice and tight. It's rare that you go straight down the line. Right? This isn't like a straightaway, if you will, too. So we need to make sure that we are keeping folks as much as possible on that straight path to give yourself the best chance for success, right? And that's why once we have created that path, which is why I want to help you to understand how we can do that, and really what that path looks like for you, that's where things can really start to shift and change, right? So with that being said, the path here really can be broken down into these sections, all right? So first part of the path is really new audience member. Like I mentioned, we need lead generation so we can really bring in new audience members. If you're looking for help on lead generation, let me know in the comments with what you're struggling with, and I can get you some kind of resource here, I'm sure, right? But in reality, that's one big piece there, I'd say, right? Beyond that, actually, one thing that comes to mind, I got my bestseller business manuscript. Comment manuscript down below. That actually would probably help the best as far as that. And really the lead leverage course too. So take your pick, whichever one you want, just let me know. But really the new audience member is really a first big one within the path. That's the necessity, right? It's like without leads, you can't make sales. So this is a big one we want to make sure that we keep top of mind. Beyond that now, really it's getting folks, like I mentioned here, to raise their hand due to trust built and opportunity given. Right? So the more we can do that, and we can really just I'll tell you this as well too, it's why I call it curate opportunities. We want to be able to plant these opportunities around our world, around our ecosystem, so that different people can land on them. Okay? And now once that's happening, we need to have a way that we can go ahead and give them this resource. Right? And so really now, I want you to think about even just up to these steps. You can have your lead generation moving on autopilot as long as you're really continuing to feed your platform and really, or delegate with outreach. You can keep that moving on autopilot without you, right? So I want to just understand that first part can be done without you. Maybe for the other side, when it comes to the duplication, and maybe if you're doing it through content, you may just, and especially if I teach a 30-minute coaching strategy, it's like you can make one piece of content and continuously use that and break it up to repurpose into more content and get folks in front of that, right? So that's ways we can just kind of keep this a bit more on autopilot for you just to keep things cruising. So that's automation delegation out there in the first piece. The second piece is obviously people raising their hand due to the trust build. Well, that's going to happen automatically if you're doing the right things with the content piece like that as well too. So now on that end, we need to give them the lead magnet. I would argue for here with the delegation side, if anytime someone raises their hand, you could easily delegate to a virtual assistant and say, hey, if someone comments this, give this to them, right? If somebody goes ahead and maybe the opportunity is via a link, you can easily have that link be a funnel that now gives them the lead magnet or this thing via email, via text, via some way that in our communications that we're using. right? And so now you can start to picture that these three can really be done automated and duplicated, which, like I said, now gives you more time to focus and double down your marketing and have more time to talk to your warmest and your hottest leads. That's where I want you living, right? So now let's look at the next step. I was trying to show you that, hey, you can do a lot of this stuff hands off so that you can focus on those things I mentioned. Now, the next step can still be hands off, right? You want to you want to have them go through that questionnaire like I mentioned. Now, here's the thing. How do you get folks to that questionnaire? Here's one way that I do it that's really successful for me, and I'm just sharing it to you so that you can understand other ways that you can do it, right? For one way is that when someone joins a Facebook group, I run a Facebook group and have been running a Facebook group for like the past 5 years or so, at least at the time we record this video. It might be longer if you're watching this later. Really, for myself, I have where people answer group questions coming in. A lot of people really don't take those group questions seriously as far as group owners who are creating those group questions. For me, I treat them the same way. Another way is when someone opts into my free course, I also have where it asks a series of questions that gets people to answer it before they can actually access the material. These are other ways that help out that much more there too, right? And so this is where having them go through a questionnaire, we're now starting to pre-qualify them before we've actually spoken to them. Because once again, as you can see, that part right there, if we've given them the lead magnet, which I mentioned you can do on an automated fashion, now you can get them to this questionnaire automated, and it has the questionnaire built into it. So now you still haven't done anything hands-on at this point to keep things rolling and really pre-qualify your leads. This is where the magic can truly happen, because once again, you're just saving your time and really filtering out who you should be talking to the most, right? If someone's answering the questionnaire way off base, you can either reach out to double check, or you can just say, you know what, like I can tell this isn't worth my time. Let me move on. It's just really helpful when you have that set up there. So it's like, how can you strategically do this and really strategically automate this and or delegate this as well too in the process? And now once you've done that, right? So, and this is why, like I said, those first kind of 4 steps, we really want to have automation and delegation leading the helm with them. Because now once we have that, we can now do number 5 here, which is really initiate reach out based on answers. And this part we can still now potentially automate and delegate strategically with software and or virtual assistant, right? And or if there's someone else you want to delegate with there too on that end. But that is how I want to see where that's when you start coming in, right? It's at this point that you step in, right? And really you're stepping in mainly for 2 different buckets within it. Number 1, you're stepping in because you want to talk to the hot leads, right? And so for that, now you're really the main goal with these hot leads that have gone through this automated process, this sales system here that's been heavily hands off for you. You want to drive them to the what I call execute stage. And really when I say execute stage, that's kind of really where the stage where you're making an offer to someone. It technically, in this case, and overall, I'll say it can be a non-monetary offer or a monetary offer. But because they're a hot lead, you probably want to push them more towards the monetary offer at this point, right? But regardless, it's that execute stage part of the conversation, of the interaction. Beyond that now, we really have it for lukewarm leads, right? You could argue lukewarm leads, maybe a little warmer than that, maybe colder than that. But the goal there is to now drive them to more value, right? Drive them to more value here. And that's why I put earlier where even in those first 5 steps here between new audience member, raise it, and having them raise their hand due to trust built and opportunity given, give them the lead magnet, have them really go through this questionnaire. And then even number 5, initiate reach out based on answers, right? Based on what their answers are, you can send them to a specific place, or maybe you can easily now send them your booking calendar so they can book, right? Because you saw their answers, they're open, they want to take next steps, they want to chat about more strategy-wise. You can automate these pieces and get hot, warm leads on your calendar, right? Maybe somebody says they're not ready to invest yet. You can now go ahead and have something that's created to go ahead now, whether it's yourself, automation, delegation, and now have it where you're pushing someone to more value. Because that's what we want to do for these lukewarm leads or these leads that aren't quite ready yet. We want to drive them to more value. I say this all the time. And information is at an all-time high while value is at an all-time low. And really, information is at an all-time high while trust is at an all-time low for being real. And I think that's why people don't feel like they're getting the value from you, because the information is all over the place, right? Really what people are valuing these days, it really is the trust side of things. So that's where for you, I want you to really keep this in mind. And also Now let's start. If we know that's to be the if we know that's the truth, how can we start to work around that? That's where this idea of the Netflix effect of sales can be really powerful, right? Because this bingeable type content really warms up leads much faster, right? You can argue by me doing that here on YouTube. At the same time, I've done that through my Facebook group. I've done it through several different platforms, if you will. But the point is, you want a way that you can get content in front of folks. And technically, you can do that automated as well. If, let's just say in your questionnaire, you have a challenge someone has to answer. Like, hey, what's your biggest challenge? They're dealing with this challenge. Now you reach out and give them a video training on that challenge. You are warming, and once again, you can do that in an automated or delegated fashion where now, like I said, you are still hands off at this point. The limit to this is endless, and that's why for you it's just now understanding how can you go ahead and figure out what to say to those people, the ones who are especially self-identifying and saying, hey, I am ready to talk next steps. What does that look like? That's what we really want to see you thriving in, to say the least, here as well too, right? You need to really start talking about, it's not even just talking about, you need to consistently show up on social media, emails, DMs, and build trust. Because without a doubt, this is going to lead you to faster conversions. So in my eyes, to put a bow on this, we need to have it so that we can really automate, duplicate, and delegate the majority of the initial stages in the process. Like I said, when we're implementing this path that we're driving leads through, this sales path we're driving leads through, we need to add these pieces to it because we want to give you as much time as possible to continue optimizing and enhancing your marketing in order to help get more curated opportunities to be successful, in order to help these areas. And at the same time, I want you to focus on how can you double down and improve your sales? How can you double down and really converse with your hottest leads? A lot of the times we always are looking for, I would call it shiny lead syndrome. We're looking for the new leads in our world, new folks to come in. We just want to keep driving in new people. That's fine. But like I said, it's not always about just getting more leads, more leads, more leads. We need to start thinking about how can we start converting a higher percentage of the leads so that now when we start getting in more leads, we are actually making more money instead of just wasting more money and time. These are going to be game changers for you regardless of the level you're at. I wish it's the kind of stuff that I realized a lot earlier on in my business. All right, so that's a big one here. Like I said, really drive that path, create that path for yourself. If you want as well too, comment script down below. I told you I'd give it to you, so I want to make sure I do. Really, if you want my sales script for chatting with hot leads, either in the DMs, text, or on the phone, comment script, and I'll make sure I send you that over. Because now with this, you're gonna be able to get a lot more warm opportunities. I want to make sure that you have the right resources to go ahead and get those conversions for yourself. My goal here is you take what I'm saying here today, go out and make some money, you come back and say, Justice, I want to work deeper with you. If that happens, fantastic. If not, at least you got some great value from here today. So like I said, Definitely hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed yet. Obviously, like the video if you got some value out of it. And as always, just keep implementing, keep leaning in here. These are the gems that I truly believe will change your business because it's the same thing that's got me to $1 million and beyond. So I want you to keep on taking off and sprinting in the right direction. All right. That's it for now. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.